Good evening, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to the Big Picture podcast. I am your host, Justine Wanda, and with me today is
Tom Muhwana.
And with us, we have an amazing guest. He's a security and safety consultant, George Musamali. George, salimia watu.
Hamjambo.
I guess wamekujibu. So today's episode features something that's very, very detrimental to the safety of all of us. It's about security. It's about just like getting home safely. That's where we're at, because we recently saw like our governor, our dear Nairobi governor.
Yeah.
I don't know why I added dear, but like the Nairobi governor came out and said, we're going to add street lights. We're going to be working with KPLC to make sure we secure the county. And first of all, lazima ikushok, because what do you mean they're working with KPLC? So just to bring this show together, what does insecurity look like? And I think I'll go to George, because he works in this particular field. What does insecurity look like, and where do you think the not just the gangs, but like the rising insecurity we've seen in the county over the last couple of days has come from?
Yeah, if you look at it closely, the kind of insecurity you are right now experiencing is what we call crime against the person. Yeah, we've seen young men being mugged in town. We've seen an MP being shot dead. We've seen a lawyer being shot dead also. That's a crime against the person. And ever since the Kenya Kwanza government came into power, we've seen a reduction in major criminal activities, especially by the Al-Shabaab. Nowadays, they are not so much hitting us all over like it used to be before. And we've also, apart from the Al-Shabaab, they have sort of contained the banditry that was in the North Rift. Somehow that one has gone down. But when you look at the crime against the person, it has really risen. And not only Nairobi, all over the country. We have gangs that are coming up. You go to Mombasa, we have the Wakaliwao. You come to Nairobi, we have people like Baghdad Boys. We have seen a re-emergence of Mungiki. We've seen the group that was in Kayole, the Gaza. They have now re-emerged. And these are the people that are causing havoc in the CBD. And I think something needs to be done about these criminal gangs. And what the government is doing is not enough, because it's knee-jerk reaction. When somebody says we have to light up Nairobi for us to reduce crime, then he's not getting the whole picture of what is happening. And that is quite dangerous for us.
Yeah. So I get Sakaja will not look at the big picture, essentially, because I don't know if his university had some courses on that. Maybe he could explain better. But the thing with criminal gangs, they don't just come from nowhere. We've seen, I particularly, I've been talking about this for a while, that poverty is a contributing factor. But the statistics also say it's much higher than, like, when you think a poor person, the statistics say at least 42.9% of people who have been disenfranchised and get into criminal activity point to poverty. And I think I'll ask you, Tom, what is something that is very detrimental that the government does not see in their approach towards ending criminality, ending gang culture?
I think it does not see that its economic policies and the things that it's not doing are contributing a hell of a lot to what we're seeing right now. But I also think this is a case of the chickens coming home to roost. Mm-hmm. The government empowered criminals during the protest. They protected men who were walking the streets of Nairobi, beating up women and men who were protesting, exercising their right, well within their right. And these same people are doing the same thing inside CBD. And I don't think you can say that this is a mistake. The re-emergence of gang violence inside the country, especially in the capital right now, I think we can draw a direct line between what happened early this year and sometime last year, the goon culture, as we call it right now, to the violence that we're seeing right now. It's exactly what I've said. The chickens are coming home to roost. You protected these people. You gave them 50 shillings to show up for a protest. You didn't give them the 450 that you owed them. Now they feel protected because you protected them the last time. And so now you have to clean up your mess. I think it's the government facing its own creation.
That's terrifying. But then I'll ask you, George, one of the things that we're realizing, even with all this increase in criminal activities, people are not reporting. Or at least a lot of people don't feel comfortable reporting. Why is this?
We have a problem with the National Police Service. There's that mistrust between members of the public and the police. And this is not something that has just come up recently. It's something that has been there for quite some time. I remember the first attempt of community policing was done in 1990. Yeah. To date, several attempts have been made. In fact, we've even brought up the issue of Manyumba Kumi after the Westgate attack. But members of the public felt very uncomfortable because the face of the police that we see is that colonial police that was there from 1900. And attempts to change even the name, because we said initially it was the Kenya Police Force, we said, no, let's make it sweet. Let's call it a service. Utumishi kwa wote. Utumishi kwa wote has been a motto for some time, yeah? But let's sweeten this and say, now we don't have a force, we have a service. But that has not changed the image that members of the public have with the police. And when you talk about reporting, you go to a police station, first for you to get an OB, you have to bribe. The police is not people friendly. You get that OB, you're given somebody we call an IO. For him to get out to go and investigate that matter, you have to facilitate. So in criminology, we call that victimology. You become a victim of the criminals and you also become a victim of the state. And this is why people say, there's no need, why should I spend more money? Yet I've lost. And at the end of the day, this is just going to be statistics at the police level. And I believe this is what needs to change, and it needs to change urgently. And equally, you will find that even if the police make these arrests they made, the other day they said we've arrested 300. Where are the witnesses? Those people will not be arraigned in court. They'll be let free. And they go back to the streets. As Thomas said, I want to differ with him about these gangs being sponsored by the politicians. These politicians have been sponsoring gangs for quite some time, but they have never unleashed them on the streets.
Like they did.
Like they did. And that is where now the problem is. This time we saw it happening, being protected by the police. The police were just there not doing anything. Because why? The police will say, these are people that have been brought by the politicians. And the politicians are the politicians from the government wing. So if you touch them, then it is you. So we used to use a language to bora afya. I wake up in the morning, I go to the streets, they do whatever they want to do, I go back to the station. And this is the problem when we politicalized the police service. And this has been eating us from 1990 to date. The tribal clashes, the police were doing nothing. So things happened in 2007, and we decided now, after the Kriegler Commission and the Wake Commission, they said we need an independent police service. And we anchored that even in the Constitution. We had two police services. We had the APS and the KPS. The APS were not reporting to the Commissioner of Police then. They were reporting directly to Harambee House. They had their own commandant there. I remember it was Mr. Kinuthia Mbugo. And the KPS had Major General Ali. So that gap that was created then is what now brought us to 2007, 2008. And we said now we need to change things. So when we said we are now moving away from the police force to a police service, we thought we are creating something that will be people-friendly. People will be now dealing with people that are social workers. Yeah, a policeman is a social worker.
Yes.
But did that happen? It did not happen. These same politicians went back to Parliament in 2014 with the security bills. We said the Inspector General of Police must be competitively appointed, apply through the National Police Service Commission, get shortlisted, attend interviews, get appointed. You're supposed to be sworn in not by the president, but the registrar of the High Court. So you become completely delinked from the politicians. But they said we need to control people. We cannot have a police service that does not report to the president. Why is it different in Kenya? Yeah. In Uganda, And countries like Rwanda, the president controls the military. That is why whenever they have issues, you'll see the UPDF on the streets. But in Kenya, we have an independent KDF. So who do we control? The police. These excesses you're seeing by the police, where are they led to happen? Scratch my back, I scratch your back. And this is why now that gap between members of the public and the police will never reduce.
Hey, so outside of kupigwa na colonialism and then creating a complete trust deficit, not just historically, but continually even in communities, we've seen the rise of not just goons, but now gangs and their political control. I just want to go over some statistics. There are over 300 gangs in the country right now. And you've mentioned some of them. And I just say, like, some of them have very uncreative names. Like, one of them is called Al-Shabaab, and that's like a different gang from the Al-Shabaab that actually terrorizes the country. And I'm like, copyright infringement, like, is anyone worried about this? And also, like, how do you identify the different gangs across different areas? What, like, the safety issue is there? Are people transferring from gang to another? Do they operate in certain areas? And when they are not controlled, as we are seeing right now, what is the danger? Not just like what is the danger, like in the sense of political violence, but what culture does that breed for younger people who just see that you can join a gang and operate so freely?
I mean, you see, this is a social problem, and you cannot police a social problem. These members of these gangs don't come from Uganda or Tanzania. They are members of this society. They are our brothers, our sisters, yeah, our children. But we don't take that responsibility as a community. We will say, hiyo ni kazi ya polisi. How many policemen do we have? Yeah. So these gangs, we have different gangs. If you look at the way the gangs in Mombasa operate, yeah, they operate in a very different way from the gangs in Nairobi.
Could you take us through how they...
For example, if you look at the Gaza in Kayole,
Yes.
these people started as a vigilante. There was a gap that was created by the police, and people said, now we need to take care of ourselves. So they start as a vigilante, Chingororo in Kisii, SPLDF in Mount Elgon. They say, now we need to protect ourselves. So, and then once they start, and they get the backing of the police, they get the backing of the chief, they go and register themselves. And slowly, yeah, they snowball into something else. You'll find out now they start getting armed. They'll come and start taking, taxing people, black tax.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll come. If you don't pay, you will not operate this business. Now we're empowering them. They are getting money from this. It has become a business. So these things snowballed up to where we are right now, such that you'll find that it became lucrative for young men who have dropped out of school. Yeah, the rate of dropouts in places in the informal settlement is so high.
Yeah.
And parents are not able to feed their children. They're not able to pay school fees. So if a child drops out of school, it's okay. Let him go and fend for himself. Where sasa umekuwa mtu mzima, get out. Where does this child end up? In these gangs. And you'll find also corruption in the police plays a major role in allowing this to happen. Because you arrest a gang member, handing over to the police, tomorrow is out, and he'll come and confront you.
Mm-hmm.
So people have reasons of joining these gangs. The gangs in Mombasa were saying they want to move out of Kenya. Pwani sio Kenya. Secession. That is what they wanted. And that is how they are operating there right now. In Kayole, these are criminal gangs. Kariobangi, these are criminal gangs. Kibra, these are criminal gangs. You go to Mount Elgon, they also say we are fighting for our land rights. That is how they operate. These are the gangs in North Rift. The only way they know how to earn a living is through the gun.
Yeah.
So you will not change them from that. What we need to do is a give and take. Because those people, some of them, when they see government in the form of police. They see government in form of military operations. That one does not help. You get to Nairobi, you'll find a police service that is completely clueless of how to take care of the citizens in town. How many times have you seen a uniformed policeman patrolling the cities of Nairobi? Go and try. You'll only see them at night. And if you see them at night, they are moving from one club to the other, collecting black tax. So we have a whole problem here that needs political goodwill, yeah, for us to be able to manage. If there's no political goodwill, we'll talk and talk and talk. Nothing will change.
But what is in it for the politicians to do this, to make the police force beg?
You see, these politicians, as I said earlier, in Uganda, they use the UPDF. In Kenya, we've been talking about rigged elections year in, year out. What role do the police play? Look at how they handled the maandamano 25th last year, 2024, 25th this year, 2025. The violence they vested on the people. Yeah, it's like they're getting orders not from the taxpayers. They are not working for the taxpayers, but they're working for the politicians. And the politicians have let them go rogue because they know tomorrow we will need them. So you bring order in the police service, you'll give them those illegal orders and they'll say no. We can't operate like that. You see? So these politicians are using the police, yeah, to gain political mileage. Whatever they want bad things to be done to members of the public, they'll go to the police. They cannot bring in the military. Look at the noise we made when the military just stepped on the streets for one day. It became a big issue. But the police are always there. This is why now the politicians will not want to interfere with the status quo. Let the police be, let them do whatever they are doing. But when we call them in, they need to come and support us because we are paying them. That's what they believe.
You've mentioned very clearly that a lot of policing is reactionary. I'm very curious about what good policing should look like, because we're seeing it's an economic problem, it's a political problem, and then it just snowballs into something else. And now you sometimes don't know who is a gang member. Okay, so there's a video I saw, I think a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week? There were kids about 12, 14, 16. I think it's in Umoja, if I'm not wrong. These kids are very young and they're recording themselves holding machetes. I think they're threatening other gang members so openly. And someone had commented, does the police see this, or is it like a figment of our imagination, like we're hallucinating on the internet? Because when it comes to safety, there's a lot of lack of safety in homes because maybe parents have to work really hard. We don't have a lot of communities that are working, communal grounds where kids can play, areas where they can actually express themselves in environments that are controlled and they are managed properly by, again, as you say, social workers. So what does good policing look like? And do we mostly need police, or do we need to rework the way we look at the culture that breeds this kind of outcome?
I think we need to look at the culture that brings this kind of outcome. Because as I've said, we cannot police a social problem. Yes, we need the police, but at a very small percentage. Because good policing should include the community. And what does the community provide? The community provides what we call popular intelligence. Because I know Tom. I can say something about Tom. You know me, you can say something about me. These children have their parents in Umoja. They have their parents in Kayole. They live in that community, and the community knows each and every child. But why is it so difficult for them now to rein on these rogue young boys and hand them over to the police? Because they equally don't trust the police to do the right thing. You see?
Yeah.
So that is where we are right now. Because if a community does not trust people that are there to enforce the law, then what happens? Total breakdown of law. If you look at the police, the way they operate in the CBD, they go out there to collect black tax. They will arrest young men who are students at the university, ask you to produce a receipt for an old laptop that you've been using in school, take you to Central, get something out of you, and release you. But where the problem is, because I can map up the hotspots. Look at a place like Kenya National Archives. Why are we having so many muggings there? Because of the metro shuttles, because every other person goes for a metro shuttle. Yeah? And this is where now these gangs will operate. What is so difficult with the regional commander, the OCPD, deploying uniformed police, not plain clothes, uniformed police, because the work of the police is to deter, not to punish, not to arrest. You are only arrested if deterrence has failed. But here we've made it a habit of arresting and taking to the stations, not taking to court. So police are supposed to deter. Presence of uniformed police is what we need in Nairobi right now. But we are not seeing that happening. Is it we don't have the numbers, or we are deploying people to do other duties that are not exactly police work? For example, VIP protection. That one can be outsourced. But we need these uniformed men on the streets. So if we want to defeat this, we must involve the community. That popular intelligence is what is lacking. We're not giving police information. And the reason is because of that animosity between the public and the police. That mistrust is what we need now to work on. Otherwise, we are fighting a losing battle.
Okay. There's something that we were speaking about earlier, Tom, and I think also you can ask your question like initially. I am very curious about what the training of a police officer includes, because the first time I interacted with a police officer outside of like KCSE being manned and them passing across and making sure you're not cheating, I don't know what that was going to do. But one of the times I've actually interacted with a police officer, I was working with my friend who is of Sudanese origin. And we were just like walking in town, we were going home, no one was doing anything crazy. We were stopped, he was profiled, they extorted money from him. I was angry. So there was 3 of us. It was me, my friend, and our Sudanese friend. So we're walking, they stop us. I was wearing one of those like camouflage jackets. And I think the directive had just come out or something. And I was like, I love this jacket. I'm not wearing it because I want to provoke anything. I just love the jacket. And then so when I was stopped, I was like, he told me like I shouldn't wear that. He was very, I'll say a little bit courteous. But then when it came to my friend who's Sudanese, they wanted to take him aside. My first reaction as like a champion activist was like, stop them from taking my friend aside because they could harm him or like something could happen to him. When I tried to stop that particular interaction, my other friend had to step in and like, we'll just stand here until they finish. But like, we didn't go home without him. So I do understand that mistrust, but I'm very curious what kind of training they get, so that like profiling is such a huge issue. I don't even know if there's like training for emotions, people who are going through a completely difficult phase, how they view people who have dreadlocks, people who have like very big beards, someone who's probably trying to, like how young people choose to express themselves. Is there a training that allows them to see young people as just creative and curious instead of this is a criminal on the come up? And also there's something, Tom, I think you were
It was exactly that. To me, it's just, you say that the job of the police is to deter, not to arrest or punish. The first thing you should focus on is to deter a crime from happening. But the police is not known for that. They're known for attacking, sometimes provoking, and assaulting, and even murdering, because we've seen 100+ murders by the police. To echo what Justina said, like Mwalimu has said up, do you are a GSU trader, or you were a GSU trader, you train them on some things. Is human rights, empathy, and the respect for the constitution and the law of the country part of that training?
Yeah, Tom, it's part of that training. The only people that were not being trained on human rights then were the GSU.
Why?
Because of the kind of work they are going out to do. It was not part of the training. But after Saba, that was in 1992, people were beaten, and we had issues, mental issues that came up. And we ended up telling the GSU, you cannot solve a problem by creating another problem. Kupiga watu rungu kwa kichwa. That is not right. And I believe I was the first trainer from the GSU that was taken out to go and do a training in liberal studies. Come now and train these people to be human. Tell them you are here to serve the people. Yeah. If you are dealing with a rioter and he runs away, why do you need to chase him so that you can clobber him? Those days, we never used to carry guns. We used to carry batons, shields, and gas masks. But you see the face now is changing. You will see all policemen with a baton and a gun. That is not how a riot party is constituted. It's wrong. And as you've put it, if you go to Kiganjo, the curriculum is different from what we used to train people at the GSU. In Kiganjo, these people are well trained. Human rights is part of that training. The law, the criminal law is part of the training. But when they come out here, because of the corruption that we are talking about, they behave differently from what they were trained in Kiganjo. But the books are very clear on how a police officer is supposed to handle a member of the public. Even when arresting you, there's what we call a caution. You must be cautioned. If he doesn't caution you, you go to court and say, I was not cautioned, that arrest becomes illegal.
I'm so surprised. What do you mean by caution? They never speak to you and they're arresting you.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. These people are just rogue. The caution is, when I'm arresting you, I must identify myself. If you're not satisfied because I'm in uniform, I should produce my card.
That never happened.
A certificate of appointment confirming that I'm actually a policeman. And I should tell you why I'm arresting you.
That never happened.
So once you're told why you're being arrested, you are cautioned now. You are hereby cautioned to keep silent. Or anything you say will be used.
Wait, they're supposed to read you those rights?
Yes.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought it was just like a TV thing that they do over there.
That caution is there. Yeah. In the judges' rules, we call them the judges' rule. The 9 judges' rule. The first rule is you must caution a suspect before booking him in. It doesn't happen here.
Are they trained to do that?
They are trained, Tom, to do that. I was a trainer, 7 years.
Yeah.
Tricky us now.
And I know.
Do you just look back and you're like, I'm not proud of you, my student? Or do you just understand them?
I mean, I've said the problem we have here is not that we have police officers who cannot follow the law. The problem is a police service that is captive of the executive. Captive of the executive. You tell me the president wakes up in the morning and says, Bwana Seda, you're the regional commander Nairobi. Tomorrow I don't want to see mugging in the CBD. All resources will be pooled to make sure that happens. But what is happening? They're giving us stories. They're leaving it to Sakaja now to tell us that it's going to light up Nairobi. That is not a solution. If we say today that we don't want to see traffic policemen collecting bribes on the road from the president, you will see it happening. But lack of political will. We are not resourcing the police enough, because for you to be able to deal with gangs like the Gaza and whatevers, you need researchers. Take researchers to those estates. Yeah, let them live amongst the community. Let them collect, understand the root cause of this. Why are we having so many school dropouts in Umoja? Yeah, and what are the parents doing about it? Yeah, as I've said, this is a cultural problem. It's a societal problem. We need all to be involved in dealing with criminality. If we don't, then we all perish.
We all perish is like so. So I think one of the things that, as we wrap up this particular topic, the statistics don't just point, like criminal gangs don't end with pickpocketing, which is very popular. It's more insidious crime, like burglaries and people on motorbikes not just chasing after groups of people. It escalates to sexual and gender-based violence. It's drug trafficking. It becomes more pervasive crimes in the future. So just to wrap up, what kind of short-term and long-term solutions are we looking at for not just like the gangs themselves, but for the police And how do you restructure political goodwill, and how do you make people believe that it's not an isolation of these are just kids who went wrong and they can be forgiven, but like repatriation has to be more? How do you restructure that in good faith to make sure that where we're at now, the danger we are facing now, does not continue, equally stops, but at the same time, the people who have infiltrated and used their political measure against Kenyans do not get to be in that kind of power again?
I think we need to go back to the spirit of the 2010 Constitution. One, we should start by making the police independent again. Go back to that spirit. Let's have an Inspector General who is independent, who has been competitively appointed, not people that have been picked by the executive and placed there. We need to have intelligence-based policing. Because now, as I've said, we need to have researchers out there, go to those estates, find the root cause of these criminal gangs. Why are young men joining criminal gangs? Because if you look at what the mayor of New York did in 1982, he came up with what we called a broken window policy, saying if a child breaks a window in the house, that child is delinquent. Deal with him as a criminal. So we people, the society also, we need to have that policy. If my child is misbehaving, remember we had that infrastructure in Kenya, juvenile homes. We have one in Kabete. You go to Eldoret. We used to call them approved schools. So you as a parent will take your child, report him to the police. The police will take this child to court and say this man is now misbehaving. Yeah. Take him to the approved school. And in approved schools, we used to have everything, carpentry, tailoring. So this person will leave that place a corrected person, a reformed person. What did we do? We grabbed all the land that belonged to those institutions. They are no longer there. Yeah. So I mean, holistically, we need to involve society in the war against criminality. And if society is left out, then the police alone will not be able to manage this. And what I'll say is that these politicians know very well what is happening. You talked about poverty. How do we remove people from that level of poverty that we are experiencing right now? And you're only talking about these young men in Nairobi. I've been all over this country. Go to the Rift Valley. You'll find young men that are just idle there in the villages, doing nothing. Go to Mount Elgon, where I come from. Idle young men crossing a border to Uganda, cheap liquor, they come back, they become criminals. So we need to have a solution that will capture everything. As much as we're talking about reforming the police, there's so much that needs to be done for us to deal with the kind of crime, the emerging trends of crime that we're experiencing. You've talked about drugs. The drugs that are being used in Kayole, the informal settlements, is different from the drug that is being used in Lavington and other areas. How does that get into the country? How someone has to take responsibility for that, but nobody's taking responsibility for that. We have even ministers, cabinet secretaries that have been mentioned internationally, but here we embrace them. So nobody is willing, to deal with the elephant in the house. And that is why every other time, I remember in 1990, when we had Washosho, Rasta, and this other guy, Wanugu, what did we do? Very quickly, we said, these are wanted persons, come up with a new police outfit to deal with them. We had the flying squad. After that, we had Mungiki. How do we deal with this? Kwekwe squad. I mean, that is not how to police a society. We're just reacting after the fact. And that is what has gotten us where we are right now.
I think there's enough research, Justine and George, on the direct line between poverty and all these systemic issues that disenfranchise young people and violent crime. I think what we are seeing now is a textbook example of lazy leadership. What do you do if something happens? You know full well that it's your economic policy and your corruption that's robbing these people of their daily bread. But then it's better for you, and it's the easier solution for you to step in front of a microphone and say that we are going to deploy X number of policemen to
And we're going to light up the...
Yes.
Oh, there was even like a walk.
That is how Haiti started.
Yes.
Unless we correct it now, we are heading the Haiti way. These gangs will control all the informal settlements in Nairobi. And now they have left the informal settlements, they have gone to the CBD. Yeah. So Vitongojini is not enough for them. Now they feel now we need to operate in the central business district. And that is where the government sits.
Yes.
Harambe House is just next to Kenya National Archives. And things are happening there. So that is the seat of government. And these young men have the guts of getting out from the estates and now coming to the CBD. It tells you about the kind of leadership that we have. Lazy leadership, as you said. Yes.
So get up on your butts and do the job that you're supposed to do, because it's very hard to just keep asking people to do the same thing, and their lack of imagination again keeps leading us to very dark places. Speaking of dark places,
Nepal is in a
but
place.
They're in a brighter place, I think.
So?
Yes,
No,
I kind of think so. It was a little dark for a moment there, but like you take us through it.
It's darkest before dawn.
Yes, it always
But
is.
quick overview of what happens in Nepal, or what happened in Nepal. Our protests, one similar to what happened in Kenya, emerges, young people, and the thing that sparked that protest was government blocking internet access, specifically Facebook, X, and YouTube. This is basically where all people in the world right now live. Most people, we can say, on their phones. And what happens, thousands and thousands, I think millions of young people in Nepal go to the streets to protest this. The result is what we saw in Bangladesh, what Indonesia. It's starting in Indonesia. Yes, starting in Indonesia. What happened in Sudan as well?
Sudan,
Tunisia, Arab Spring.
Yes.
Egypt as well. Yes, but I want us to specifically look at the similarities between what happened there and what happened in Kenya in last year's protest and this year's protest. Now, I don't know about you, Justine, but the fact that there's a lot of emergence of the Gen Z protests happening worldwide, I don't know if you can draw that line to Kenya. Is it like we inspired the world to revolt?
Yeah, we are there.
We are there.
I think it's not just inspiring. It's coming from somewhere. One of the things that I truly believe is a lot of the older generation have sealed almost all the gaps for people to join them wherever it is they were hoping to go. So the millennial generation bought into the dream that a lot of boomers sold them. They're like, no, if you just put your head down and work hard, you will get everything you want. And we've seen people who work extremely hard end up dying very poor. And for a lot of Gen Z, I'm sure many of them come from families where they've either seen someone who's a little older or like someone of just like a slightly higher generation from them not make it successfully, not because of lack of working hard, but because the system does not support them. So as much as we would like to say, oh, Kenyans are the originators and like congratulate ourselves for doing a job that kind of help people rise up, the similarities are there, but I also think it comes from living in the same dysfunction across the world. We're kind of we have a replicated dysfunction across different countries, and that's why the generation that wants to enter the workforce, build their own dreams, have some kind of impact on their own lives, that's where a lot of them are joining into those protests to make sure that their voices are heard.
That is true. That is true. I think it's mostly true what you've said. Although I say we're the OGs of France.
But don't give it to the boomers.
To the boomers?
1990.
Yeah.
This thing started in 1990.
It's true though.
When we had Sabasaba.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
And why is it that these young men, the Gen Zs right now, are sons and daughters of those boomers?
Yes.
So they took that blood from there.
Yeah.
So we started it. And now you're continuing the rest. You're perfecting it.
Yeah. You are your parents.
Millennials are left out of this conversation.
No, millennials were lied to and they believe the dream. So a lot of them did kind of try and protest, but also there was a laxity because some of them kind of enjoyed the perks that the boomers brought with them, but also the complicity. Like your generation is not that far removed. So if you have 10 years of where you feel like, oh, there's stability, you start thinking that's actually true for everyone. But that's not the image that a lot of people have had in their lives. And again, even if we just point back to what we've been talking about, like criminality and gangs, the people who have failed are parts of those systems, like where the failures showed up. That's what we try to gloss over and act like didn't happen. So unless we're just as riled up about like the policy failure, we're not going to be riled up about like going to the streets to advocate, because like you think because I made it, maybe everyone else had a chance to make it, but it's a lie.
It's a lie. You were lucky, actually.
You are.
Or you were at a situation where you had a certain advantage that someone else didn't have.
Absolutely. Privileges.
And I was having a conversation with someone over the weekend, and they were telling me that one of the problems with Kenyans is, and the best example is summer tides. People attending summer tides, and the fact that that brand is associated with certain people, and those people being what I'd call unpopular in the country right now. And they were telling me that a friend of theirs who was within their circles, and I'm talking about activism circles, they were furious that the thing they had to give up was attending that event. And so it became a problem because this person badly wanted to attend this event, and that event, the person who was holding it, the person who was profiting from it, was someone that they'd consider the opposition to their views and beliefs. I think it connects back to that. I don't want to give up my comfort and the things that built me to what I am right now, or that make me feel good or comfortable, just because they profit someone. I'm not willing to give that up. It's a cost too high for me to take.
Yes.
But now to glance into the future, I don't know. I feel very pessimistic about what happened in Nepal for these reasons. Like, I love it that people came to the streets, and I saw politicians getting beaten up and almost lynched because of money they stole. I will not say if they deserve that or not, but Nepal is adding into the list of Tunisia, Sudan, Egypt, Myanmar, what happened in many places, and even Burkina Faso, where you see this toppling of a regime that represents everything that is going wrong in your life. But then what next? Sudan, it was civil war that we are seeing right now, with over 2 million, 5 million people displaced. In Nepal, they toppled the president, but then the army is now stepping in.
No, the army is back in the barracks.
But they have significant power. It's not civilian authority right
back
now.
in the barracks. But if you look at what happened in Sudan,
Yeah.
where we have the RSF and the Sudanese army, that is where the problem is.
Yes.
If those guys had stayed in the barracks, then I think Sudan will not be where it is right now. Tunisia, we never saw the military on the streets. Immediately after calm was restored, they went back to the Egypt equally. They did an election. They had a president. So it's not all bad, because at the end of the day, people are expressing themselves. Look at what is happening in our country right now. We are talking about these young men. You interact with them every other day. They have complaints. I remember a policeman friend of mine told me he was deployed on Kiambu Road to block these young men from getting to town. And 3 ladies approached him and told him, look here, we just want to go to town and express ourselves. Because I finished college in 2021. To date, my father is still feeding me. I have a college degree and nothing is changing. We just want to go out there and express ourselves. And believe me, if we had allowed these young men to come and express themselves, gave them a listening ear, I think we would not have gotten where we got by so many young men being killed, maimed by the police. It's only that we have a leadership that is not ready to sit down and listen to the views of these young men. And Nepal did not just happen. There were several attempts, signs were there, the indicators were there. But were the politicians ready to listen? No. Because if people say, no, we don't want you, why do you want to stick there?
Yeah. I'm curious to hear, did your friend let them through?
He let them through.
Okay.
In fact, he gave them to, he told me there was a van for one of the media houses that was getting to town, and he told them, okay, if you want to go to town, you go to town, get a lift from this gentleman. Enda tulizeni roho yenu.
Yeah. Okay.
So I tend to think like we should listen to this young men.
Yes.
And otherwise, they will do it again next year.
Yeah.
And it will be a complete circle.
Yeah.
So the government should have learned something from what happened in 2024, 2025.
Yeah.
Those problems have not been solved.
Yeah.
We're just saying we have a broad-based government.
Yeah.
And you think that you've sorted the issues of these children. We've not. I live with some of them in my house.
Yeah.
And I know how they operate. They even threaten me.
What's it called?
Intergenerational disconnect.
Yeah, no, there was that word that the former Prime Minister used, intergenerational conclave.
That is
Yes.
it.
It's like we're appointing a new pope in country.
Yeah.
But Justine, the other parallel between Nepal and Kenya is opulence.
Yeah.
It's opulence.
Me, by the way, I actually have such a huge problem with how people think about wealth in this country. It's a huge problem because if I am working very hard, right? I am waking up every day. People don't even understand the digital economy, the people who work in this government. They don't understand it. They think launching things and cutting ribbons is launching a job. Yeah. When you're not providing people with the resources that they need. So I imagine I've bought my own bundles, right? I worked very hard. I pay for my internet. I probably got some money from my parent, bought my own laptop. You get like all these different things that you had to build yourself up to for some kind of earning, right? And then when you're stopped in town, someone takes your laptop, asks you, or like they break it, or they break your camera, and all these things are extremely expensive considering the amount of tax that you have to pay for it. And after all these very terrible things have happened to you, at the end of the day, you open your phone, that maybe is the only thing that they left you with, and then you see the president is getting a new jet. He's hosting 10,000 teachers and paying them 5,000, 10,000, 200,000. And we've not even gotten to how many cars that they have, the amount of allowances that they get, and how much they just like, and then you get to see their kids online. Oh, what's the name of this lady? Millicent Omanga. Yes. The kid has this very expensive car and like they're photographing and they're so happy. The CS for Treasury, the child graduated in Australia and like education here is severely underfunded.
The president wearing a $1,500 shirt and
I didn't even know that's possible. Like, enda gikomba, bro. Like, I don't understand why we need to have such opulence in a country where people don't have much. So even if I'm one of those people like, they worked hard and they got their own money, it's still my money. It's taxpayers' money that you worked so hard for. You went to a supermarket, you bought 2 things with 1,000 bob. You're like, maybe these problems will end one day. That's what it feels like. And then it doesn't end. It only escalates and it feels like they're robbing you, but they're also making fun of you. So for a lot of those, for the Nepalese Gen Z who saw this, they compiled videos where they juxtaposed the opulence of their cabinet ministers and all these people versus the poorest of the poor in the country. People eating like from the floor, living close to like very polluted rivers. It's very hard to wrap your head around the fact that their opulence is not attached to your oppression.
Yes.
They're interlinked. So if they're interlinked, obviously your anger is not rooted in nothing. It's rooted in like the material oppression that they have created by failing to enact policies and do the work that helps.
That's true.
So the parallels between like the Kenyan Gen Z and the Nepalese Gen Z of like making sure their opulence does not continue and they understand their ill-gotten wealth has a direct effect on us and our futures. it just doesn't end with them stopping to show us. It actually has to be like, if I am going to a public school, then a minister's kid has to be in that public school with me.
Yeah.
If they are not, then they've failed.
Yes.
If there's I don't remember if it's an MP or who. No, actually, the governor for Nakuru said so. She was like, I can't go to a county hospital. My county residents are gonna see me naked.
And she runs the counties.
Yeah, girl, get in there. Like, you're not special.
Yeah.
Like, pregnancy is a very difficult journey, but it's also a very precious journey. And if you've equipped the medical personnel well, people are going to treat you well. You know you can't go there for very specific reasons, and it has nothing to do with your person. It has everything to do with the failures of you as a governor.
Aside, George, before I let you in, Justine, aside from the protest that we saw and the burning down of the National Assembly of Nepal, which is actually the biggest in Asia,
Yes.
the palace, I saw a video of youths throwing the expensive bottles of liquor from a balcony, and they were celebrating.
Yes.
I think that gave them the same feeling that Kenyan youth had when they entered parliament. Na wakakula mchele ya parliament. It's so similar. The reaction is so similar because it feels like you've conquered and you've stepped on the same people who've taken so much from you every single day, and for once you're on top of them.
Yes.
It's the same thing that you've said. It's that people feel like they're getting robbed every day for a section of society, the ones who have power, quote unquote, to have a comfortable life and enjoy luxury. But yeah, Justine.
The removal of elite people from everyday life, and Kenyans are also complicit in this. Kenyans love to hype rich people. I don't know where that complex comes from, but we need to interrogate our relationship with wealth. If you've seen your mother or your dad or anyone in your family work so hard to get the thing that they have, there's a pride that comes with that. And you'll probably want to live in the same kind of dignity that they have. So why are you glorifying someone whose wealth you don't understand? So I think our complicity in this very specific thing and our refusal to be uncomfortable for a little bit, that's going to set us back. We cannot just choose comfort at every turn. We need to ask ourselves, even you love that influencer, yes, but that influencer is not feeding you. Their performance of wealth is not in any way connected to you. So if you're not benefiting from a thing, and you don't even have to benefit, if you cannot point to the source of that person's wealth, you should be a little uncomfortable rejoicing that they have that much money, because the chances are that it is coming from your pocket. So be uncomfortable, Bana. Always think like you're sitting on pins. It's good for you. Yeah.
George, would you wear a $1,500 shirt? I'm curious.
No.
You thought about it?
I think that is too much.
Who thought about it? The fact that you thought about it makes me doubt.
That's too much.
It's too much money.
It's too much money. And when we talk about crime, we need to look at what causes this crime. It is these politicians, with the money they have stolen from us, that are making things difficult for us, whereby education has become very expensive. You become sick, going to hospital, you can't manage. Feeding your children in the house, in fact, when they decide now to go out there and drop out of school, you say, let it be. I remember years back when I was an instructor, I asked my students, what caused Wanugu? Why do you have Wanugus in this country? We have Wanugus because we have Akinabi Wat, who stole from the people, and now these people have to struggle to put food on the table. And that is exactly the picture that we're having currently. Because that Mercedes I saw, I think it's worth more than 17 million for a 21-year-old, 20-year-old boy. Where do you get this kind of money? These are our taxes. We launch a dam in Ethiopia, Aror and Kamaror here. We don't know where the money went. But still, nobody has taken accountability for that. Tomorrow, we have the ODPP withdrawing cases from the courts. And these are not petty criminals. These are people that have sabotaged the economy of this country. Do you blame the Gen Zs when they go out on the streets to demonstrate? You can't blame them. And then to add salt on the injury, you use excessive force against an armed young man. And now you're telling us you want to compensate them. How much is worth a human's life without compensation? We have the TGRC report that has been with us for quite a long time, after 2007, I think. Yeah, nobody has implemented that report. And that is where everything is captured. These problems that you're talking about right now would have been solved if we had implemented the TJRC report. We have the Ndungu report of people that have stolen public land. Yeah. It has never been implemented. And I believe these people are still sitting here, sitting on us, wearing sunglasses worth 125,000 Kenyan shillings, and yet somebody is sleeping hungry in the villages.
Yeah.
We have students who have not reported to university because the parents cannot afford school fees. Capitation is not there. So these are the kind of things that will force these young men to come commit crime and demonstrate, because they say, we cannot continue living like this. My father paid school fees, he's still feeding me. If it's a girl, my dad is still buying sanitary pads for me. Yet I'm a person who can be able to stand and fend for myself. Yeah. And that is why what happened during Tunisia, the Arab Spring, that hawker. Yeah. It happened in Sudan, that young lady. And now it's coming closer home.
It was here.
It was here. So we just need to be very careful. Yes. We need to have a change of policy.
That is true.
At the top. And then let that trickle down. These issues of bottom up or chana nayo.
Answered you.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So I think we have to wind up our show. And Tom, what are we looking forward to this week?
First of all, it's to remind you again that continuous voter registration opens in 2 weeks, starts on the 29th. Today is the 15th, so you have like 2 weeks to start registering for 2027. Aside from that, the compensation panel that the president constituted, which is very, very problematic, depends where you sit on the political aisle to judge what you believe or what you don't believe in. But the court will give further directions on October 6th, but as it stands now, the panel it's paused. It shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be sitting. It shouldn't be holding any public participation for victim compensation. But the most important part that I think people should know is that recently there was part of evidence against the BBC documentary, or the accused supposed alleged BBC documentary filmmakers, the case that is ongoing in courts, where they've been accused of spreading misinformation by the government. In that case, the lawyers involved in that case just submitted part of the evidence and forensically analyzed documents from the documents from their phone, or maybe their phone analysis by Citizen Lab, which is a university in Canada. It found that phone, or the phones of 2 filmmakers, I think it was 3 who have been charged, Nick, and there's Derek, and another one. I might be getting these names wrong, but 2 of the 3 devices of these filmmakers were found with spyware. And the spyware was not allegedly, according to the timestamps in that report, they were installed in those mobile phones while they were in DCI custody. So those capabilities included things like you could see what the person was doing on their apps like WhatsApp, Instagram. You could listen into their calls. You could know where they were at any particular time. It's important to note that this happened within DCI, while the phones were in DCI's custody and these people were under arrest. I think this is significant, Justine and George, because for the first time, and aside from that, actually, as a law enforcement officer who's connected to a telecommunications company also said in court in his own words that he gave evidence against Ian Mokai, who was arrested for posting President Ruto's AI-generated image, that he gave those without a court order, which is completely against the law. So 2 instances in 2 different cases of people who did not commit crimes, but the government accused them of committing crimes, and the DCI, and it's actually the DCI only. It's only the DCI who've been found to break the law in every way possible in those situations. That's just it. You should know that the DCI could be spying on you right now. You should know that. I think it's important that you know that because your life depends on it.
Yeah. Wameka the I in DCI. Where? Tutachoka.
Nicho.
So we've come to the end of our show.
Yeah.
And I would like, just before I give my take on EPRA charges being dropped by significantly high numbers, I would like to give this, just to wrap up on the show and like what's security and what we're looking forward to with where the country's at and what we should be looking to do as Kenyans, even if the institutions are failing us, like what should we hold the line for?
What we need to do is I think we need just to tell this government to give police their independence so that they can serve the people. Right now, the police are there at the whims of the executive. The executive will tell the police what to do and what not to do. And I think that is why now we have surging numbers on crime against persons. And the police are looking helpless. And we should also tell the government, please facilitate the police. The government came in and said they've given police money, but that money is not there. You go to a police station, you have to buy, you have to print your own affidavit, which is a document that is supposed to be given to you free of charge. You go to a police station, you want to record a statement, you have to buy paper to record a statement. And even the facility, the infrastructure in those police stations is, even the police themselves are traumatized by working in these old colonial police stations. And I think we just need political goodwill to change the face of the police. And if that does not happen, then we are still where we were in 1900 when the colonialists came to Kenya. We are still in 1963 when we had a police force that was there for the colonizers, not the people. And that is the face of the police that we have currently. That has to change.
Absolutely. That has to change. And the solution is not affordable houses. So I want to end with EPRA gave Kenyans a price reduction in fuel. The 0.8 shillings that was removed in kerosene and diesel and petrol. And 0.1 shillings that was removed in diesel. So I hope this week you really enjoy that discount, you guys. Like buy 10 liters, it gets to 1 shilling and you can celebrate. So that's been our show today. I would like to thank George for coming through and Tom as always. And good night and thank you for joining us.